Well, Dweeb, sure, it's a nice ring, but I think that's why they lock cemeteries at night.
Can I get them open?
Whoa, Bundy! No Man presents, live from the nudie bar, the Married with Children podcast. And here are your hosts, Jerry, Justin, and Al. I'm a fugitive, and I only live to fight. Yeah, we party here in the nudie bar, guys. It's the Married with Children podcast. We are discussing Married with Children, Season 1, Episode 7, which is called Married Without Children. And I'm here with the guy who just wants to watch your kids, Jerry. What's up, Jerry?
Man, I'm just trying to get free entertainment. Let me watch your kids. I'll put them in the backyard, give them rakes, let them fight each other.
And we are also here with the guy who just wants to go pearl diving, Justin. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? Pearl diving.
So, yeah, it's Married Without Children. That's the name of this episode. Steve and Marcy decide that once is enough after they volunteer to watch Kelly, Bud, and the family dog Buck. After Al and Peg go away for the weekend to a seedy motel in Wisconsin, where Al wants to watch a boxing match on the cable TV. So that's the gist of it, guys. This episode is a landmark episode. Do you know why?
Why?
What do we see for the first time?
In the inside of Steve and Marcy's house.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are they living better than the Bundys or what?
Their house looks like Marcy dresses like my grandmother, but the inside of her house looks like my great-grandmother's house.
Yeah. If you had a choice, would you rather live in the Bundys' house or the Rhodes' house?
I'm taking the Bundys. Like, there's way more stuff. Like, even though, like, they don't have as much have as much money as Steve and Darcy's. Steve and Darcy's house is bland and boring.
Steve and Darcy?
Steven, before I came on this episode, I forgot how to talk.
How long were you partying in here in the nudie bar before we got
on? What time is it?
It's 10:45.
Shit. It's Thursday, right?
We're live every Friday. We're at the nudie bar. Oddly enough, the show gets dropped earlier on a Friday. It's like a time warp thing, actually. Yeah, it's weird how it works.
Yeah, I would rather stay in Al Bundy's house because it just looks way more comfortable and relaxed. And
it does look comfortable. I'll give you that. It does.
Yeah, it's very cozy. My house is much nicer than that house, and I'd still take that house over my house. Just because it would be like a dream, like a fantasy of mine, just walk around. I would just walk around that house all day. I'm like, wow. So this is where blah, blah, blah. So this is where this is. And I would just do that all day long. I'd be like wandering around. I'd even recreate scenes from that show in certain areas of the house.
By yourself? The bedroom scenes?
Yeah, I was going to say, none of the bedroom scenes. Unless Al's getting the points.
My daddy went to bowl. Don't see the baby since I
1 minute.
started my parole. I'm a fugitive.
Will you please turn it down?
Thanks. Girls call me Snooky and the fat ones call me Clyde. The ones who call me twice just
Turn it
call me
off.
Stud.
I'm sorry. You have no idea what it's like having music blaring all day long.
Yes, we do. That's why we came over.
I'm sorry. It's just that the kids were homesick from school today.
Oh, nothing serious, I hope.
Oh, no. Just one of those bugs that goes around. You know, where they're sick for 2 hours, then they make you sick for the rest of your life.
So, in this one, right away, there's something to talk about, and it's the music of this show. Now, I'm not going to take credit because I'm an idiot, and I did not realize that they completely tricked me. So, this show went out to trick us, and they did trick me, but not Jerry. He realized that the song they were playing, I thought it was a completely legit song. You know, you gotta fight for your right to party. You know, you don't think anything of it. It just sounds like typical, 80s rocker kid background music. But, Jerry, what does the song actually say?
So the song actually says, I'm a fugitive and I only live to party. I think one of the reasons you were thrown off because another landmark thing happened at the beginning of this episode. We see Peggy actually cleaning, and that probably just, you were probably so stuck on that you didn't realize the song was fake. That's how they faked you out.
Well, we saw her vacuum up her wrappers and cigarettes one time.
That's her covering up her tracks. I don't count that as her
That's not
cleaning.
Yeah. Now, Justin, am I the only idiot out of us three? Did you realize that song was not legitimate, or did it not even occur to you?
Well, at first I was like, this sounds like it's supposed to be like License to Ill, Fight for Your Right from the Beastie Boys. You know, everybody knows that song. It actually...
You gotta fight for your right to party. Your pop caught you smoking, man, he said, no way.
I believe that song actually came out in 86, so just like 1 year before this episode aired. But yeah, I mean, I think that I didn't know that it was a fake song. I thought it was a real song, but
just not that song.
Yeah, I just knew that it wasn't the Beastie Boys song. But at first, it sounded like it was, or like it tricked my brain for a second there.
Well, it tricked mine for 20 years apparently. So Steve and Marcy come over.
Coffee? No.
Peg offers them coffee, and they immediately refuse, which is a callback to the first episode. But it's funny because Peg made her and Marcy's coffee good. She said, oh no, ours will be good. And only Al gets the crap, and Steve gets the crap coffee. Steve should have said, it would have been a better writing callback if Steve said no and Marcy said yes.
It would have been. That would have been cool. That really would have been.
I didn't even realize that was a callback, so I missed that one.
Oh, well, there you go. Now we're even. See, now we get our own points.
Yeah.
Mom! Kelly tied my face to the speaker!
Excuse me.
The mistake she's making. Maybe we should loan her some of our child-rearing books.
I don't know, Marcy. I don't think Al and Peggy read much.
Yep. Classic.
And the best part is that doesn't become a fight. It doesn't become anything. Peggy doesn't care.
Yeah. Has that ever happened to you guys, though, where you're talking real loud and then the music just stops and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
It's so awkward.
Oh, hi, honey. Look, Steve and Marcy are here.
Yeah, I know. I've been circling the block waiting for them to leave. I finally ran out of gas.
Man, he's so just quick-witted with stuff like that, man. I love those little zingers.
Yeah. Now, if that was reality, though, he said he ran out of gas. That's why he came in. That means he would have ran out of gas in 4 minutes, because from the time they got in there till he must have seen him walk in or whatever.
Yeah.
In 4 minutes, he ran out of gas. So that was like, what, 2 circles?
Yeah, which he probably wouldn't have made it to the gas station in the morning anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, right. It wouldn't have made a difference anyway.
Well, they've agreed to take the kids for the weekend.
Great.
Yeah, so you and me can go away by ourselves.
You mean we have to leave? Gee, it sounded good for a second.
Come on, Al, we never get to go anywhere.
Honey, if I wanted to go away, even with you, it wouldn't be this weekend. The fight's on Saturday.
Oh, Al, you always watch sports. Well, not this weekend. We're going away.
I'm watching the fight.
You're not watching the fight.
I'm watching the fight.
You're not watching the fight, Al.
Oh, really, dear?
It's not being carried on network TV. It's only on cable.
And we don't have cable TV. Well, that settles it. Come on, Marcy. Let's get the phone book and pick a nice, cheap little love nest.
So, Justin, one of the things that liked the most about this show was how far they pushed things for a show that just started, and you couldn't believe some of the references.
Yeah.
Now, Steve sang, talking about the Come and Go Motel, and he says,
The fight is being carried on Spectravision, and I know who's got it. This little place right across the state line in Wisconsin, the Come and Go Motel.
How would you know about a place like that?
I've come and gone a few times.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
like, how are they allowed to say this?
Yeah, I know. I really did think that was like, wow, that's like a direct reference.
Right. Jerry, do you think in 1987, if somebody asked you if they had like if they had a bunch of years, like 4 options for years, like 87, 94, 2001, and they said this line, would you ever think it could be 1987 and it was on regular TV?
No, at best that is late 90s, and even then, not while the sun was up.
Yeah, that's like Beavis and Butthead. You know what I mean? Like MTV
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, that's not Fox, not at that time. And like, but it is funny to me, like on Steve saying that, how once again Al just pulls the man out of Steve and reminds us that Steve used to be a man before he got married.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is some of my favorite parts of the show so far. Is those moments. For some reason, I don't like Steve as like my favorite character, but I like Man Steve a lot.
Right. He's like Jekyll and Hyde, and you like the Hyde. So now, we talk about how edgy the show is already at this point, and it doesn't stop. I mean...
Do I watch the fight first, then give her a jump? No, that's no good, because with that on my mind, I'll be all anxious and tense. I won't enjoy the fight. No. Best thing to do will be to bed her down first. That way, I'll enjoy the rest of the day. Now,
I obviously love all this stuff, but I just can't believe what gets past the censors, considering we live in a world now where everyone is completely offended by everything. So
yeah.
How could letters not be pouring in at this point about the content that's on this show? It amazes me.
Yeah, especially back then when TV and like, the influence that it had on our children and things like that was such a big deal with, everybody knows with the Silent Night, Deadly Night thing, the parents like protesting, Siskel and Ebert, right? Like this seems like this would be total fodder for those people.
Dude, it was 1987. They protested the Garbage Pail Kids movie.
Yeah.
If you protest that, how are you not protesting this show? So that is amazing. And it's funny because one woman actually did make a big stink about this show, I think either at the end of season 1 or in season 2. And what she ended up doing was causing such a stir, and she was getting interviewed all the time on the news and everything. And all it did was let everyone know there's this crazy, outrageous show called Married with Children, and the ratings soared.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think with a show like Married with Children, it is funny because even though it doesn't have a lot of violence, it has a lot of jokes about suicide. Even though it doesn't show like a lot of skin, it talks a lot about sex, and not just with Al and his wife, but look at all the comments for Kelly. Like, and she's 15, and there's a direct line in one of those episodes we've already done talking about her virginity. Like, it actually does amaze me. And I wonder if you can get away with a lot more saying things in a sly comedy routine than you can showing any of it. Or was this just like what Apple does, where Apple, anytime they do something, they don't care. If everyone hates it, they stick to their guns and they go with it. And I wonder if Fox just did the same thing with Married with Children. They were just like, do it. We're going to stand behind you, and we're not, just go ahead. No matter what anyone says, we're just going to keep going.
I think the two creators, Michael Moye and Ron Levinson, I'm probably saying their names wrong. Forgive me. I believe one of the stipulations is they get 100% creative control. Fox was never allowed to tell them to tone it down. That was one of the stipulations in doing the show. Supposedly they were the Fox was lucky to get them. Usually you think that someone's lucky to get a job. but somehow whatever it was, maybe they just read all the scripts for season 1 and realized it was gold, and they were like, okay, yeah, guys, please do it on our network. And like I said on the first episode, this show saved the Fox network, so it makes perfect sense to me that I guess he has that much power already, those two writers. So eventually Steve and Marcy, or I guess I should say Marcy, convinces, Peg, and it wasn't hard to convince Al to let them watch the kids. And, Steve told Al about the motel where he's been with a bunch of other girls and stuff. And he could go there because Al thought he was going to watch the boxing match at his house, but he doesn't even have cable. And oddly enough, neither does Steve and Marcy, which was weird because they seem like the kind of people who have everything. Like the nice cars, the Mercedes, cable.
Mercedes, cable.
Yeah, and cable and Mercedes and food.
They don't have cable yet because there's not a women's network yet.
It's coming.
Well, what we found out in the next episode is one of the reasons is Steve's job. So we'll get into that in the next episode. It baffled me when I heard what he does for a living, seeing as they're so sort of uppity.
We have to talk about Al completely selling out Steve and Steve completely saving himself.
I've come and gone a few times.
With Marcy?
Well, actually, before Marcy.
You dog, you.
I don't say anything to Marcy. I wouldn't want her to find out about some of the wild oats I sowed. So this is just between us, okay?
Sure. Hey, Peg, Steve just recommended this little place, the Come and Go Motel. He says it's a real passion pit.
I don't remember us going there, Steve.
Marcy, I can't believe you forgot that night.
I don't know where my mind is. I'm sorry, Steve.
I should hope so. But I forgive you.
To me, it was interesting because it wasn't so much that, we've seen Steve get in these moments when he's with Al, but that was just a straight cold lie. And it wasn't even really provoked, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like he was hanging around Al all day and, Al just sold him out and he just, resorted to straight lying. I thought that was interesting for his character a little bit because
dude, you gotta cover your ass, man.
Yeah.
When you mess up like that, you gotta flip it over and make like it's her fault.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like
good,
Al was really proud of Steve at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, and thanks for selling me out. No problem." Like, okay, Al, we all love joking around. Steve put up with your joke about how he's not your kind of guy. You don't really want to hang around him, but you cannot do that. Like that, there's man code, and I'm surprised that of all people, honestly, that Al does not kind of
follow that code.
Yeah, how does he not follow that code? It seems like
He doesn't see Steve as a man.
I guess that's true. Because I was wondering that as well. Did he do that for his own personal just laughs and enjoyment to see him squirm a little bit?
Yeah, because he doesn't see Steve as a man. Just turn around. The next thing he does is starts talking at Steve, not to Steve, but talking at Steve to talk about how his planning of how I've got to bed my wife so that I can hurry up and get on this Spectre Vision and watch this boxing match. Do I do it before the fight? Do I do it after the fight? No, that won't work. Like, he's not talking to Steve. He's talking to himself at Steve.
Right. Yeah, I guess at this point, Al still does not, even with their whole bonding over the car and shooting his dog, like, he still does not really, he hasn't fully connected with him yet. And that's good. It's still early. Keep your distance, and Steve has not really portrayed any manly, anything that Al would respect at this point. So, yeah, I guess there is no reason to have any guy code with him.
Did we talk about why Marcy wants to watch the kids?
No. Why does she? I forgot.
Just for practice, for when they eventually want to have children.
She also thinks that they would be a good influence on the kids. That was the other thing.
Yeah, because, they're going to go back home completely different. It'll be
and I like how Steve from the get-go is like, no.
Well, if you really want to get out of town, we wouldn't mind taking the kids for a weekend. Would we, Steve?
Well, the ones upstairs?
Well, it would be fun. It would be good practice for when we have children.
You wouldn't mind?
Of course not.
Like you can from the get-go, he is completely against this idea, but he's not a man enough to stand up to his wife and say no. And this actually, throughout this entire episode, that happens constantly.
Well, the end plan that these two idiots have, I hope one of you remember who came up with it and one of you remember who went along with it, because that's important. I actually forgot. Do you want to remember?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because then we have something to discuss there. The kids are, heading over there, and Steve is reading a book called Kids, You're Bigger Than They Are.
That made me laugh so hard.
Like, why do you have this book just laying around?
Yeah, he's already reading on how to reaffirm the idea that he's the adult and they're the kids. Like, he has to do that at 29 years old or 33, whatever he is.
Yeah, they already mentioned earlier in the episode that they should let Peg and Al borrow some of their child rendering books. So it's not a surprise that he has it, but it is a surprise to me that he has one for older children. You would think he would only have one for like babies right now.
Yeah, infants, right. He's reading that now. Is he going to even remember what it says 14 years from now?
Yeah, these are the kind of people that not only buy how to raise your teenager books before you even agree to have kids, but not only that, they have it memorized so that they can quote it while they're playing Trivial Pursuit in 10 years.
Oh my God. Yeah, so maybe they will remember. Marcy never is at a loss for being corny. She'll always find a way. She'll always have something that's corny about her. And the worst had to be...
Now, Bud, Kelly, don't think of us as babysitters. Think of us as best friends. Steve, would you like to tell our best friends what we have for them?
Not really, Marcy.
What?
No.
Oh, man. She's hard to take.
Oh, my God. And I love how Steve is not having it. He's just saying, no, this is corny, this is stupid, this is not going to work. He's being realistic, so he's not too far gone. That's a positive. Bud goes up. I guess they just let him run through the house. And one of the greatest things ever, and something that we definitely should talk about, or maybe, now I'm thinking about it, maybe it's not so crazy. He comes downstairs, and he has Mrs. Rhodes' bra. And that must be, she must be mortified at that point. And the one line he says is, look, Kel, it's bigger than yours. Now, how could a chicken's bra be bigger than Kelly's? I mean, but then now that I'm thinking, the reason I said I was thinking about it, she was only 15, I guess, right? And I guess, not that I like to think too far into 15-year-old girls, but maybe she wasn't developed.
Okay, well,
there was that stuff in the bra.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is a callback joke.
Yeah.
Right. Because she stuffs her bra. So I guess Kelly is not developed yet. Because we all see her, unfortunately, I know it's sad since we're still talking about her at 15, but we all see her as a sex symbol, basically. And we were all, except for Justin, we were young when we saw, because you didn't watch anything. We were all young when we saw this, so we were able to look at Kelly like that no matter what,
Yeah, and I even did know of her, even though I wasn't like into this show. Like I think in pop culture she was known, so I did know who she was. I did know she was a good-looking girl, and she was, a sex symbol even at, in the '90s. I remember that.
Yeah, and I have to use that to justify it to myself because, like, one night while Reese and I are watching Married with Children, I make a comment about how hot Kelly is, and she just looks at me and she's like, Jerry, she's only 15. And I'm like, yeah, but I was younger than 15 when I was into her. So just like I'm older now, yeah, but she's older now also. So if I'm looking at her now older when she's 15, I'm still looking at her as when I was like 12. So it's not creepy to me because it's not like I'm gonna go and hit her up on Facebook because now she's
not
older
that age
than I am.
anymore.
Yeah, like
I know what you mean, though. That's Winnie Cooper for me when, the Wonder Years, because that was probably my first crush, you know what I mean?
Well, it's an odd thing because when you have a crush on girls like this, time freezes because they're on film, it's on television, and it was captured in 1987. So that is frozen, but what doesn't freeze is us. So we keep going. We're older, but what age do you say, well, that's no, I'm totally not interested. She's not good looking. No, I'm too old to say that. Like it's not the same. Like we wouldn't go to a high school and see a 14 or 15-year-old girl and say, man, that chick's hot, man. Look at that skirt she got on.
Right.
Like you can't say that. But if you said it as it happened then you just have to, I guess, remove yourself from it or something. Like you have to stop saying it eventually.
Have you, it reminds me of when, guys would be like, man, if I was younger, if I was a teenager again, I'd be all over that. And it makes me go, as guys, we never stop, thinking that, but we know that, they're young, they're not, even though that 15-year-old is already probably, banging people, we are not, because I know what I was doing.
We're not candidates, though.
Yeah, we don't do that. We don't get that. So but this is a weird, uncomfortable topic to talk about because if you're not careful about what you say,
you're a
creep.
Pedophile.
I think we already look like that for the last 6 minutes of what
we're just trying to justify the.
Yeah, and now we're we're scrambling to get out of this.
Yeah. So they're not allowed to have parties, right? That was one of the rules. No parties.
No parties. That was the main rule.
Yeah, no parties. Bud's destroying this house little by little. Fox hunt with Marcy's engagement present, which is a fur that Steve bought her. Now this brings up a topic that we could definitely talk about. Steve is livid, and justifiably so. I forgot what I got my wife for anniversary, so I can't even reference it. But I mean, for our engagement, I don't remember buying anything but the ring, honestly. So
I was gonna say I didn't give my fiance an engagement. I mean, I proposed to her on Christmas,
Isn't
so
the ring
she
the
got
gift?
present.
Jesus Christ!
That's what I thought. Why were you getting her an engagement present? You just spent your money on the ring. That was
and if the present, then if you spend money on the present too, then it's you should have spent more on the ring.
Yeah, she would like a higher grade of diamond rather than a fur, I'm sure.
Yeah, can I get a engagement present? I feel like I'm owed a present now because I gave a ring and all I've got in return was a bill.
Yeah, credit card statement. But what happens is Steve is furious and he literally takes his belt out of his pants to tear the hide off this kid.
I was like, go Steve. Get him.
Steve, dog.
Now, should we go as it? Do you think people would care to hear if we would hit our kids or not? Or, that's not even that interesting. How about, would you be willing to hit someone else's kids if they trashed something in your house while you were baby?
Oh, hell no. I ain't touching
here's my
anybody
thing.
else's kid.
No, that's, if I'm going to watch your kids, let's say Alex has a kid. Him and his wife have a kid that's half lovely because it half looks like his wife, but then it's got a part of Alex in it, and you're like, I don't know. Yeah, and Alex is like, Jerry, I need you to watch my kid, and I'm like, dude, you're making bad decisions already. Don't keep going. But he's like, no, you have to. And I'm like, all right. I would ask him point blank, if your kid is bad, how do you want him handled? Grounded, stand in a corner for 5 minutes. Spanked.
Ooh, that sounds hot.
Okay, we're not talking about Kelly. We're talking a little younger.
Oh, okay.
You want me to make them watch, I don't know, BBC? What do you want me to do to punish them?
BBC, dude, you know what that means these days?
Yeah, geez, Jerry.
It's the British channel.
Yeah, sure it is.
Yeah, just like Steve went to the Come and Go Motel and came a few times and left.
Well, okay. Yeah, you come in, you leave. But anyway, I'm going to ask that question. First off, if I'm taking over your kids, I need to know what I'm allowed to do. They're
how you can abuse them.
Yeah, Peggy handed him a list of rules, which was already shocking to me because I was like, she actually wrote out rules? Holy shit. But I would expect that too. I need to know what they can and can't do. I don't care if they're allergic to peanut butter. I care if I can hit them.
Oh, good. So you would be willing, if I said yes, you could slap him upside the head. If he spills something on the floor, you'll do it.
Yeah, but not like, I'm not going to do it hard. Like, I don't even plan on doing it enough to make them cry. Because you more along want to instill the fear that it can be done than actually doing it.
Yeah, you just walk in and say, your dad said I can hit you.
Yeah, like, well, okay. When my uncle had a wooden paddle that on one side he wrote equalizer on, and the other side he wrote ouch with like 2 exclamation points. And all he had to do was pull out that paddle, and I was like, I'm sorry for whatever I did. I'm going to go pray. I'm so sorry. Like, it was the fear of it that scared me more than him actually using it, because that pain would go away. But knowing that I could get that pain again and I don't know when, that was always more scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
So the anticipation of pain is more scary than the pain itself. Okay. So, yeah.
So, I mean, Alex, what about you, though? Like,
would I hit the kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem just like grabbing his arm and pulling him and whacking him on the ass or something.
See, that's my only thing is I don't want to hit him on the ass.
I know, it is kind of weird that I would do that, but okay, I think we should stop talking about kids.
Yeah, we're just digging ourselves deeper and deeper this episode, fellas.
I am proud of Steve, though, and I love when Marcy's like, you're losing father points, and I'm like, yeah, but he's gaining Jerry points.
That's great.
So, well, Bud basically what he encapsulates here is that you can't have nice things if you have kids. So just remember that, guys. Now, Kelly somehow convinces Marcy to have a few friends over, and that does not constitute a party. A few friends apparently is not a party. So,
first of all, hold on. Let's look how Kelly played this. Okay, she asked if she can go out with friends, and Steve says no because your mom said if you were sick, you couldn't go. If you missed school, you couldn't go out. Now, so then she just bold-faced lies to Marcy, saying, "Oh well, Steve said I could have friends over if you said it was cool."
Said to ask you.
And Steve's face lights up, but he doesn't say a thing. And I'm like, why aren't you saying anything? It bothers the hell out of me. And then Marcy comes over there and she's like, oh, you're going to make me out to be the bad guy? And once again, he doesn't go, I didn't say that. She's lying.
Well, he acts like he got fooled and there's no way out of it. He's still the man of the house. You see, now I think you're completely right. Now I'm starting to see where I was coming from. Steve is not a man at this point, and he should not be treated as such.
Yeah, and then Marcy folds because Marcy doesn't want to see like the bad guy because she wants to be the
She
friend.
got tricked.
And she's like, go ahead and call a few people over. And then the doorbell rings. Kelly played them. She already invited her friends over.
Oh, yeah, they were on their way.
Yeah. Wait, who does that? Who did she learn that from?
Peggy. Peggy does that.
Peggy does that. Yeah, she does do that. She does that all the time.
Yeah, we can't order food through a clown's head. She just got done saying, Al, can we go out to eat? He says, no, Peg, it costs a fortune, blah, blah. And then she finally convinces him, what the hell? Okay, good, and all of a sudden the doorbell rings. Hey, let's go out to eat. So, yeah, that's totally like mother, like daughter. That's perfect.
And
I'm glad you pointed that out, Alex.
Yeah, perfect.
And the scene shows that, like, well, Steve constantly is trying to be a man in this episode, and he only succeeds once. And every other time, Marcy just slaps him down real quick because Marcy doesn't want to see the bad guy. She doesn't, but, like, I would think that when Marcy and Steve had kids, they would be really strict parents. You got to be in by 8, no going out on the school night, stuff like that. But they're just getting walked right over.
Yeah, their kids would grow up to be sissy Marys. That's a fact because they wouldn't even be allowed to play sports.
I was like, Sissy Mary, what are you talking about? And then I remembered when you said sports.
And I'm telling you, your son is going to be a sissy Mary if you let that woman take away your sports.
Okay. Stupid. So, Kelly's friends finally come over, and it is gold. I mean, this episode is gold already, but it starts off gold because before they even get there, they're entertaining the crap out of us by playing Izzy's Closies on the way in.
Yeah.
I think this belongs to you. It's a part of his mailbox.
Kelly goes,
Well, if I can't have a party, can I at least have a couple of friends over? I don't see the harm in that. Do you, Steve?
Yes, I do.
Sure. Go ahead and call them. I already did. Listen, I really like one of these guys. He's real nice. But don't make any sudden moves, okay?
I guess I can dial 911 slowly.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey. This is Sean, Debbie, and Dweeb. Dweeb just got out.
Human life means nothing to me.
Marcy.
It's nice to meet you. Just let me spread out some paper and we can all sit down.
like, just the way he's like, he didn't say it mean. He wasn't like, human life means nothing to me.
He said it like he was strung out on a drug or something.
Like, it was the most, like, nihilist way you can say anything.
Yeah. Human life means nothing to me.
And then Marcy yells freeze when Steve tries to leave, and Dweeb assumes the position.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's already gold. And let's point out that this is another landmark episode because they finally highlight the kids. I mean, we all, I'll say this a lot, the show we all know and love, it is far different from this first season. And one of the reasons is, if you notice, every time there's really any good or major plot points going on this show, it's really just Alan Pegg or Steve and Marcy involved. The kids come in, drop in a few one-liners, they go out, you're getting a little taste of them. And, oh, God, we should stop talking about kids. This is just not going well. Okay, wait, hold on. You get an idea of their personality, and they come in and out of the show, but this is the first time that they're the central focus, and this becomes normal because after, I think it might happen during season 2 and on, but they are on the couch as a family, and everything revolves, and there are so many more perspectives and avenues to go through now that you got 4 amazing personalities in just this house. Then you got the other 2 from next door neighbors and stuff, and stuff like that. So, and by the way, I forgot which episode it is, but I did hear the words next door neighbor. So when we talked earlier a couple episodes ago about where they live across the street or next door, I must have assumed right, and I think one of you guys did too, that they are next door to the Bundys, not across the street, because somebody said next door.
We all agreed that they were next door. You were talking about some show you watched where they said they were across the street.
Right.
But I just realized while you were talking about that and like in talking about the kids in season 1, I just realized something. Like the intro actually shows you that, because at the end of the intro it is only Al and Peggy sitting on the couch. The kids come in, they get their dollar joke, and then they leave.
Right.
And it's just Al and Peggy, and that really does show how season 1 is.
Now, let me ask you guys this for somebody who hasn't watched future seasons. Does the intro always stay the same, or does it change throughout seasons?
Believe it or not, they just update it. It's the same thing. Like, remember how we talked about The Simpsons and Jerry came up with that amazing thing about the couch gag? Like, he pointed that out. And The Simpsons have another one for every show they do. And this show, I believe, right to the bitter end, has the same exact couch gag that they either just recycle from previous seasons, but the kids grow up so much that they eventually, somebody must have said, all right, guys, we got to update this thing because it's kind of weird.
So they, like, remake it?
Yeah, they remake it, yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because it would be weird if the kids was still young looking.
Yeah, wouldn't that be weird if you saw that, then all of a sudden it comes on and they're like 5 years older?
Yeah.
Yeah. We were so enthralled with our first, like, experiences of getting, like, more of the Bundy kids that like we have skipped over everything Al and Peg are doing at the hotel.
Okay, so let's go back to them. Yeah, what are they doing while Kelly and Bud are in Marcy and Steve's house?
That's a testament to like how just interested we are in like other characters on the show that we've just been going and talking about them because it's so funny. But so Al is trying to get Peggy to the hotel as fast as they can. As soon as they get in, he's like, Peggy, get on the bed. Man, can you believe that traffic? Like, he's trying to go. And she's like, we have all night, which is weird because you would think she would be like, let's go.
Yeah.
Well, he does use that. He says, oh, well, the mood is fading.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, okay, come on. So, yeah, you're half right there. She does. They eventually work that in.
Yeah. But it's so funny because I was actually kind of like, who do I give the point to here? Technically, Peg should get the point because she's having sex, but Al is playing her this whole time so that he can watch the fight on SpectreVision. And I almost want to give it to him because, like, he's only doing it this time. Because usually when we give these points away, it's because that person did something to get their way. Usually with Al, it's getting out of sex, and with Peggy, it's getting into sex. But in this one, they kind of, like, both of them won.
Yeah, Peggy didn't do anything for this outcome. You know what I mean? So,
like, Alex, you're a judge here. How do you feel about this?
Oh, man. Well, I'll say that, well, Al, yes, he got his way, but he had to do the deed to get his way. So Al had to willingly lose this time. So she still gets the point, but he was more, and listen, there are instances where Al says, hey, you want to go upstairs? You know, so it ain't like Al hasn't relinquished the point before. You know, it's all different scenarios, I suppose. But in the end, we know he doesn't want to have sex with her, but that's probably going to go down anyway if they go anywhere. But at least if they go here, he gets to watch us fight. So I think she still gets it.
Okay, but no, you're right. You're right. At the end of the day, it's still...
Right. Like, ultimately, Peg always wants it. Al never wants to do it. If we get to a point where Al is the one going after Peg for it, which, believe it or not, will happen, at that point, Peg still gets the point. Even though, believe it or not, she doesn't want it when he wants it. So that's going to be an interesting debate.
Now listen, this is going to work out great for me, except for one thing. She's going to want some sex.
I definitely think it's an interesting dynamic, and it kind of gives because most of the time that takes the power away from the male, that they like bow down to the female in order to get sex. But in this show, I think they wanted to make Al such a manly man that it's like
she comes to him.
Yeah, all the time. You know what I mean?
Man, this episode has got us pondering a lot of things. My score just went up for this episode.
And I thought we were just going to talk about kids trashing a house. Oh, my God.
For real.
Don't say the K word anymore, Alex.
Yeah, I got to stay away, even though we have to end the whole thing with it. Yeah, so Al does this. He gets to watch his fight. It's a nice moment. He's all into it, and she's, they have a nice moment in that sleazy motel. The Come and Go Motel, it's called.
Back at Return of the Living Dead Part 4... at Marcy's house.
Yeah.
Do they all look like characters from Return of the Living Dead?
Oh, they do. And how about Steve? It's so the look and the things they say are so jarring to Steve. The funniest part is when they come in and I think he says that, Steve turns and the cards like fly out of his hand.
Yeah. Oh. Before we do get back into Steve and Marcy, we do have to say Peg comes back from shopping. Al's done watching the fight. They talk about missing the kids. They're going to go back home. They call Steve and Marcy, which Steve and Marcy are super happy about. But point to Al because she tries to initiate sex again, and he says no.
Well, they're here to watch this fight. He doesn't care.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to say point to Al.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, okay. Point to Al. Yep. Oh, good. I missed that one. Good. I'm glad you said that.
I just remembered it.
Yeah, these kids are straight out of Return of the Living Dead. If anybody hasn't watched that movie, You have to. It's one of the greatest horror comedies of all time. It's the perfect blend of horror and comedy, and that does not come around often. So
Yeah, I agree 100%.
yeah, Returning of the Living Dead, guys. You got to look that up.
And it really, like, Dweeb reminds me of one of the guys in there, and like, even Sean is like, I'm gonna get a government job so I can sell secrets, and I'm just like, man, I wonder if Snowden was a punker back in his day.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, you know. It's really spot on, especially for the year, because Return of the Living Dead just came out, so that was like '86, I think, and this is '87. So that's really cool that they're way in tune with what's going on. Dweeb is just great, and he's like crushing the beer can into his head.
Alex, is this the first time we actually see any of like Kelly's friends, any of the guys she's actually with? We haven't seen any yet, have we?
Yep, no, this is it. This is the first one.
Because, you know, throughout the show, she's always talking about, like, oh, he wears a dog collar. And I was always, like, whenever I think, because of how, like, attractive and blonde Kelly is, you almost think she would be with, like, the preppy football guys. But no, she's always with, like, the punk rockers and the outcasts like that. Which it just makes it way funnier because it's like, she's daddy's little girl, but she's always going for, like, these punk rock guys.
Well, it's cooler that her personality does not get consumed by her looks. She doesn't, you know, she is who she is, and just because it's almost like a pretty boy who, like, who kind of uglies himself up with, like, a scraggly beard and not the greatest haircut, and, you know, things, and wears kind of different clothes. It's like, you don't just because, oh, I guess I'm one of these kinds of people because I happen to be aesthetically pleasing. You know, she doesn't change. Like, whatever was inside of her, it's not going to change because of, oh, well, hey, I could reach different statuses than other punkers or whatever because I have this going for me. You know, so it's really cool that she's really grounded, and it's cool that she gets to kind of be a hybrid of two different things, and it's both good, you know, because she enjoys who she is and she gets to look hot, so now she's got the best of both worlds, you know, instead of like faking or conforming to something else that she can be a part of just because of what she was born with. So that's actually a pretty cool character dynamic about her that I really love.
You're right, and like, because she doesn't even dress extremely punk. Like, she a lot of times looks almost completely normal, not like super, like, one of the whitest things I've ever seen is in this episode, and that's when Steve and Marcy do their happy dance.
Oh, God.
That was whiter than Kelly's hair. But like, it's interesting because Kelly could pass as completely normal, especially when she's hanging out with the punk rock kids, because she does not look extreme like they do.
Right, yeah, they are like out of a catalog of what you should wear, you know, like a punker starter kit or something.
Yeah.
She has an edge to her look. She's definitely not, you know, she doesn't look like the Cosbys or the Roseanne kids or nothing like that. You know, she definitely has a way edgier look.
Yeah, but it's not too edgy. Like, that's the thing I like. Like, she is right in the middle.
Yeah, she walks that fine line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's perfect. It's really cool. You know, things you don't, and that's why I'm glad we're doing this show, because this show, it probably gets very overlooked and people just see it, chuckle, and walk away and don't give it a second thought. But I think the reason it lasted 11 seasons and the reason that it's worth talking about today and people still are buying the season 1 through 11 DVD pack in Walmart right now is because these things we're talking about, you know, like, you didn't notice it, but it was there, and that's what got you into it, and you didn't even know it.
Yeah, like, talking with y'all, I have delved into so much philosophy and deep thinking has come out of this show than I ever expected. Talking with y'all about this show. And it's crazy because it's even like, if you look at something, okay, let's look at the next scene we're about to go into. Al and Peggy are going to come back, pick up the kids, blah, blah, blah. They're all happy. They do their happy dance.
They have to see that we're not fit to care for the little demons.
We're bored. Why can't we have a party?
Because your mother specifically said no parties.
That's right, she did. And if we were good babysitters,
The kind people use again? We'd have to say no. Yes, of course you can have a party. Can you get one together in less than an hour?
Sure.
Oh, well, go for it.
Marcy, tell me this is your plan. You're going to get them all together and blow them up, right?
No, this is better, Steve. Just as the party's starting, Al and Peggy will be here. And they'll see this wild party starring Dweep, and they'll know we're unfit. And they'll never ask us to care for their precious offspring again.
Good news. Raven and the Bloody Ten are coming.
Gee, they're tough.
All right.
What would you guys say to this? Like, because I'm glad that it was Marcy who came up with this, because this is not an insult to women, but women make decisions more off of emotion, and guys are more analytical. So her doing that is actually pretty fitting, because she's so mortified by this whole what's already happening. But how does he not go, are you serious? No.
But here's the thing, though. Like, when I think about it, almost all the, like, really devious plans in this show almost have been coming from, like, Peggy. Like, really thought out devious plans that, like, you would not expect. And this is, like, a couple of times now that Marcy's came up with something. This is the first time that she's came up with a really devious plan. But it harkens back to me when she, like, flips out and starts talking about fish hooks and dog eating people.
Right.
And I'm just like, she has this, like, devious side to her that's, like, so pent up. Like, just like Steve has this pent up, I used to be a man thing going on. She's got this, like, pent up, like, devious anger thing that she's not, like, this perfect little new age feminist.
She got
like,
a dark side.
Yeah. And so she comes up with the plan, and Steve is kind of like, that'll never work. That is so stupid. But he's so desperate that when she's like, no, it will, because they'll come home in an hour and it'll be fine.
Would you see any logical reason to go along with this idea?
No, not a chance.
Wouldn't you just say, well, isn't it bad enough when they see these guys here?
Yeah, I would say that, and then I would be like, there's a million excuses in the world on why I can't watch kids on a certain night. Like, we'll figure it out.
Well, it turns out Al and Peg are not coming back. They're having too much of a good time, and it's whatever. And he goes, oh, what the hell? They said don't rush back. And so now this party's in high gear. The house is getting trashed. They apparently only have one tape in their boombox, which is, I'm a fugitive. I only live to party.
I wish I could get a copy of that song, man.
I want to find, like, I wonder if it's a full cut or if they just made, like, one verse and one chorus, because that's all they would ever have to do.
Right, because they could just cut to something.
Also, how do y'all feel? Would y'all go to the show of Raven and the Bloody Ten?
Mm-hmm. I like those obscure bands like that. Yeah, I'd go.
Yeah. And by the way, in Al, I really like the joke Al makes when him and Peggy are right before they decide not to go back. And Peggy's like, you look just like the day I married you. And he's like, I know. And she's like, aren't you going to say it back? And goes, well, I bowl. You don't do anything.
Yeah, it's so great. She doesn't do anything to stay. Yeah, because bowling is really going to make him look. I don't think she was complimenting his body. So I don't know what his logic is there.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hi, Dr. Shoe again. I've been telling you about my shoe line. Nobody cares. So let me mention something else here. 555 shoe also spells 555 rind, 555 pimp, and 555 Rigney. Remember, nobody knows as much about Rigney as Dr. Rigney.
There's a new pet.
Tia.
Chia Pet, the pottery that grows. They are very fast. Simple. Plug it in and insert the plug from just about anything.
Simple.
As we wrap this up, have you guys ever thrown parties like that in your youth, or have you ever gone to other house parties that were sort of similar to this?
Absolutely.
I used to throw them. Before I moved to Florida, when I was like 20, I think. I was like 19 or 20. Me and my buddy and a couple other people, we rented this house, and it was like in the ghetto. We would throw parties there all the time, and they never got busted. It was great. Like, we had holes in our walls. Like, we didn't care because we were young and dumb, and like, we ended up being able to get out of the contract completely free just because our house got like kicked in and robbed. So the house was deemed unlivable because the doors were like kicked off their hinges. And so they were like, well, we can't really have you live here anymore. So we got out of it, and we just told them, yeah, they wrecked our house, man. Look at this place. But have y'all ever went to parties and actually like destroyed someone else's house or broken, like on purpose, not on accident, not like drunk, fell over, knocked over a vase?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to places where people would get like really buck wild, and I even remember one dude pulled out somebody's bow and arrow and shot it across the room into the like wall. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, I never participated in, like, I would never intentionally damage somebody else's property. I just feel like a huge asshole. But I've been to places where people have just not had a total disregard for other people's places and property and stuff like that. And it always made my stomach sick, even at that age.
Yeah, me too. It does, me too. So both of you have thrown these and been to these parties. I have too, but the funny thing is, you're going to love this. It mirrored Married with Children because my sister is the one who did this. We had this thing where my mom worked at night for, like, my parents always had, their jobs were always kind of like moving around. They never had, in our life that we remember, like one job forever. They always kind of had different jobs. My dad eventually got a part-time job as a security guard in a store called Bradley's, which is very 80s. It doesn't even exist anymore. Has not existed for like 15 years or so. So he was a security guard there part-time, and my mom worked somewhere else, I think as a bartender at night. And me and my sister, she was, I'll say 16. She was almost exactly like Kelly's age, maybe a year or two older. I'll say it happened like 4 or 5 times. She had like 20 friends over this house, and it was exactly like this party at Steve and Marcy. And this would happen all the time. So I got to live that end of it, and then I got to do this myself. But I wasn't much of a partier in my younger years. I did all this type of stuff from like 19 and on. So from like 19 to, I don't know, 24 maybe.
It's so funny. If anyone listens to like Alex's other show, The Skeleton Crew, it's so funny hearing about Alex's early life, because it seems like up until Alex was like 19 or 20, like even the horror movies he watched were all like clean-cut Universal monster movies. And then all of a sudden he found like alcohol and Jason and Sleepaway Camp and be in Psycho 3, and was just like turned his whole like life into a completely different person.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's like your life was pretty much Bud from Married with Children.
Right.
Up until like you got kicked out of your house.
Right.
And then it completely changed. Is what it seems like.
It's weird. The year 2000 was the biggest turning point. So I guess, was it the turn of the century or something? Is that what that is?
You were affected by Y2K.
Yeah, because once that all happened, my life actually completely just changed too.
I can't wait till we get your sister Jen on here and we get to interview her.
The real life Kelly Bundy.
Yeah, the real life Kelly Bundy, and she can tell us how much of a dwerp and dweeb you were as a kid.
Yep.
I want to know how many times that... When you said throwing all these parties, did y'all ever get caught throwing these parties by your parents?
No, I don't think so.
That's crazy.
Yeah, never. Well, just don't ask her how many mannequins or blow-up dolls I had in my bedroom.
Wait, mannequins? What are you, maniac? What are you?
All right,
what are you
guys.
doing?
So we're gonna rate this episode. Just kidding.
Oh, so they had Alan Peggy had sex again. Point to Peggy.
At the very end, right?
Yeah, at the very end. Point to Peggy. They don't show up. I'm a fugitive and I only live to party happens. Yeah.
Things keep happening, I can't explain. I love to sweat less
This'll show them. Any minute now, they'll be pulling into their driveway.
You know, dear, they really are wrecking our home.
I know. But Peggy and Al will be home any minute. I can't wait to see their faces.
Yep. Any minute.
I'm a fugitive! I only live to follow!
No Ma'am will be right back to wrap up this week's review. Be sure to join their Facebook group page for all the podcast news and updates. Just type in www.facebook.com/groups/marriedwithchildrenpodcast. Be sure to subscribe to them on iTunes and please leave a review telling them what you think of the show. To subscribe to their YouTube channel, just go to channels and search up Married with Children Podcast. You can email them at marriedwchildrenpodcast@gmail.com. There you can send them audio clips telling them what you think of the show, or you can send in a clip talking about a future episode they will be reviewing. Any clips you send may be played on a future show. Thanks for checking out this review. Now the guys are going to give their final thoughts and ratings of this week's episode.
Thank you very much, Jamie, for all that great information, guys. Listen to what she says every week. She gets on here just to say these things, so you really should check out all those, websites and rate us on iTunes and all that good stuff, YouTube, all that. So please do that. Now it's time to rate this episode. All right, guys, so how many nights at the Come and Go Motel would you give this episode out of 5? 5 nights at the Come and Go Motel. How many would you rate this episode, Justin?
I like this episode quite a bit, a little bit more than I thought I did once we started talking about it. It was a little forgetful until we started talking about it. I had trouble remembering some things when we first went into it. I do like that we got to see a little bit more of the kids' focus, because I've been wondering if that was going to happen for a while, because I find both of them pretty funny and interesting and would like to see more of them. So I know that happens in later episodes, but I'm going to go ahead and give it about a 3 out of 5 Come and Go Motels.
3 out of 5, so he liked it. Jerry, how many Come and Go Motel nights do you give this one?
My original score was 3 out of 5 because I was just like, nothing really happened. It's funny, but it's a Passover episode. But I actually want to give it a 4 out of 5 just because of how much conversation it struck between us.
Yeah, over an hour.
For this episode that was almost like Justin said it, like this was a skippable episode, but look at all the conversation we had. So I'm going to bump it up to a 4 out of 5. I will probably watch this episode again just to see if the topics we hit are something that are worth noting for this episode.
Yeah. I also give this 4 out of 5 nights at the Come and Go Motel because it's just perfect to me, and it's so cool that it's in the first season. It establishes a lot. You get the kids, you get Steve and Marcy's house for the first time, so you get a change of scenery. Al and Peg go to a motel, so they get a change of scenery. Al and Peg really do love each other at the root of it all. You don't really see that too often. You saw it, obviously, 16 years and What Do You Get episode where they celebrated their 16th anniversary. You get it again here, That was not the only time you're going to see that, because when they share that little moment after Al is watching the boxing match, that was really cool to see some adult time and closeness time. I can't tell you enough how much I love all of Kelly's friends and that whole atmosphere and just the whole tone of it. That is 80s party to me, especially a small party, and it just makes it better when it's a real party and they invite more people over. So to me, that's the kind of experiences, when I watch this, I want to escape, and sometimes when I watch a movie or something and they're having a party, I feel like I'm at the party.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I want to be. You know, it's very nostalgic. It's very 80s, and I was there at the time, you know, as a kid, and that is what I would, that's what I'd be doing. So it's great to, like, relive that in our own minds while we're watching this. So really like it. I'd even maybe go 4.5, but for technicalities, because we always put it on Facebook, what we all rated it, and see if people's ratings match up, I'll just say 4 out of 5. So we got 2 4 out of 5s and 1 3 out of 5.
House is bland and
What?
boring.
Stephen Darcy.
Steven, look, before I came on this episode, I forgot how to talk.
How long were you partying in here in the nudie bar before we got
on? What time is it?
It's 10:45.
Shit. It's Thursday, right?
We're live every Friday. We're at the nudie bar. Oddly enough, the show gets dropped earlier on a Friday. It's like a time warp thing. Actually, yeah, it's weird how it works.
Yeah, I would rather stay in Al Bundy's house because it just looks way more comfortable and relaxed. And
it does look comfortable. I'll give you that. It does.
Yeah, it's very cozy. My house is much nicer than that house, and I'd still take that house over my house, just because it would be like a dream, like a fantasy of mine. Just walk around. I would just walk around that house all day. I'm like, wow. So this is where blah blah blah. So this is where this is, and I would just do that all day long. I'd be like wandering around. I'd even recreate scenes from that show in certain areas of the house.
By yourself? The bedroom scenes?
Yeah, I was gonna say none of the bedroom scenes, unless Al's getting the points.
My daddy went to bowl. Don't see the baby since 1 minute. I'm a fugitive.
Will you please turn it down?
Thanks. Girls call me Snooky and the bad ones call me Clyde. The ones who call me twice just
Turn it
off.
I'm sorry. You have no idea what it's like having music blaring all day long.
Yes, we do. That's why we came over.
I'm sorry. It's just that the kids were homesick from school today.
Oh, nothing serious, I hope.
Oh, no. Just one of those bugs that goes around. You know, where they're sick for 2 hours, then they make you sick for the rest of your life.
So in this one, right away, there's something to talk about, and it's the music of this show. Now, I'm not going to take credit because I'm an idiot, and I did not realize that they completely tricked me. So this show went out to trick us, and they did trick me, but not Jerry. He realized that the song they were playing, I thought it was a completely legit song. You know, you gotta fight for your right to party, you know. You don't think anything of it. It just sounds like typical, 80s.
The mistake she's making. Maybe we should loan her some of our child-rearing books.
I don't know, Marcy. I don't think Al and Peggy read much.
Yep. Classic.
And the best part is that doesn't become a fight. It doesn't become anything. Peggy doesn't care.
Yeah. Has that ever happened to you guys, though, where you're talking real loud and then the music just stops and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
It's so awkward.
Oh, hi, honey. Look, Steve and Marcy are here.
Yeah, I know. I've been circling the block waiting for them to leave. And I finally ran out of gas.
Man, he's so just quick-witted with stuff like that, man. I love those little zingers.
Yeah. Now, if that was reality, though, he said he ran out of gas. That's why he came in. That means he would have ran out of gas in 4 minutes, because from the time they got in there till he must have seen him walk in or whatever.
Yeah.
In 4 minutes, he ran out of gas. So that was like, what, 2 circles?
Yeah, which he probably wouldn't have made it to the gas station in the morning anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, right. It wouldn't have made a difference anyway.
Well, they've agreed to take the kids for the weekend.
Great.
Yeah, so you and me can go away by ourselves.
You mean we have to leave? Gee, it sounded good for a second.
Come on, Al, we never get to go anywhere.
Honey, if I wanted to go away, even with you, it wouldn't be this weekend. The fight's on Saturday.
Oh, Al, you always watch sports. Well, not this weekend. We're going away.
I'm watching the fight.
You're not watching the fight.
I'm watching the fight.
You're not watching the fight, Al.
Oh, really, dear?
It's not being carried on network TV. It's only on cable.
And we don't have cable TV. Well, that settles it. Come on, Marcy. Let's get the phone book and pick a nice, cheap little love nest.
So, Justin, one of the things that you liked the most about this show was how far they push things for a show that just started, and you couldn't believe some of the references.
Yeah.
Now, Steve sang, talking about the Come and Go Motel, and he says,
The fight is being carried on Spectravision, and I know who's got it. This little place right across the state line in Wisconsin, the Come and Go Motel.
How would you know about a place like...
Well, Dweeb, sure, it's a nice ring, but I think that's why they lock cemeteries at night.
Can I get it open?
No Man presents, live from the nudie bar, the Married with Children podcast. And here are your hosts, Jerry, Justin, and Al. I'm a fugitive, and I only live to fight. Yeah, we party here in the nudie bar, guys. It's the Married with Children podcast. We are discussing Married with Children, Season 1, Episode 7, which is called Married Without Children. And I'm here with the guy who just wants to watch your kids, Jerry. What's up, Jerry?
Man, I'm just trying to get free entertainment. Let me watch your kids. I'll put them in the backyard, give them rakes, let them fight each other.
And we are also here with the guy who just wants to go pearl diving, Justin. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? Pearl diving.
So, yeah, it's Married Without Children. That's the name of this episode. Steve and Marcy decide that once is enough after they volunteer to watch Kelly, Bud, and the family dog Buck. After Al and Peg go away for the weekend to a seedy motel in Wisconsin, where Al wants to watch a boxing match on the cable TV. So that's the gist of it, guys. This episode is a landmark episode. Do you know why?
Why?
What do we see for the first time?
In the inside of Steve and Marcy's house.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are they living better than the Bundys or what?
Their house looks like Marcy dresses like my grandmother, but the inside of her house looks like my great-grandmother's house.
Yeah. If you had a choice, would you rather live in the Bundys' house or the Rhodes' house?
I'm taking the Bundys. Like, there's way more stuff. Like, even though like they don't have as much have as much money as Steve and Darcy. Steve and Darcy's
rocker kid background music. But Jerry, what does the song actually say?
So the song actually says, "I'm a fugitive and I only live to party." I think one of the reasons you were thrown off because another landmark thing happened at the beginning of this episode. We see Peggy actually cleaning, and that probably just, you were probably so stuck on that you didn't realize the song was fake. That's how they faked you out.
Well, we saw her vacuum up her wrappers and cigarettes one time.
That's her covering up her tracks. I don't count that as her cleaning.
Yeah. Now, Justin, am I the only idiot out of us three? Did you realize that song was not legitimate, or did it not even occur to you?
Well, at first I was like, this sounds like it's supposed to be like License to Ill, Fight for Your Right from the Beastie Boys. You know, everybody knows that song. It actually...
You gotta fight for your right to party. Your pop quit your smoking, man, he said, no way.
I believe that song actually came out in '86, so just like 1 year before this episode aired. But yeah, I mean, I think that I didn't know that it was a fake song. I thought it was a real song, but
just not that song.
Yeah, I just knew that it wasn't the Beastie Boys song. But at first, it sounded like it was, or like it tricked my brain for a second there.
Well, it tricked mine for 20 years, apparently. So Steve and Marcy come over.
Coffee? No.
Peg offers them coffee, and they immediately refuse, which is a callback to the first episode. But it's funny because Peg made her and Marcy's coffee good. She said, "Oh no, ours will be good." And only Al gets the crap, and Steve gets the crap coffee. Steve should have said, it would have been a better writing callback if Steve said no and Marcy said yes.
It would have been. That would have been cool. That really would have been.
I didn't even realize that was a callback, so I missed that one.
Oh, well, there you go. Now we're even. See, now we get our own points.
Yeah.
Mom! Kelly tied my face to the speaker!
Excuse me.
Dad?
Yeah, you've come and gone a few times.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
Like, how are they allowed to say this?
Yeah, I know. I really did think that was like, wow, that's like a direct reference.
Right. Jerry, do you think in 1987, if somebody asked you if they had like if they had a bunch of years, like 4 options for years, like 87, 94, 2001, and they said this line, would you ever think it could be 1987 and it was on regular TV?
No, at best that is late 90s, and even then, not while the sun was up.
Yeah, that's like Beavis and Butthead. You know what I mean? Like MTV stuff.
Yeah, that's not Fox. Not at that time. And like, but it is funny to me, like on Steve saying that, how once again Al just pulls the man out of Steve and reminds us that Steve used to be a man before he got married.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is some of my favorite parts of the show so far. Is those moments. For some reason, I don't like Steve as like my favorite character, but I like Man Steve a lot.
Right. He's like Jekyll and Hyde, and you like the Hyde. So now, we talk about how edgy the show is already at this point, and it doesn't stop. I mean...
Do I watch the fight first, then give her a jump? No, that's no good, because with that on my mind, I'll be all anxious and tense. I won't enjoy the fight. No. Best thing to do will be to bed her down first. That way, I'll enjoy the rest of the day.
I obviously love all this stuff, but I just can't believe what gets past the censors, considering we live in a world now where everyone is completely offended by everything. So how could letters not be pouring in at this point about the content that's on this show? It amazes me.
Yeah, especially back then when TV and like, the influence that it had on our children and things like that was such a big deal with, everybody knows with the Silent Night, Deadly Night thing, the parents like protesting, Siskel and Ebert, right? Like this seems like this would be total fodder for those people.
Dude, it was 1987. They protested the Garbage Pail Kids movie.
Yeah.
If you protest that,